Hello, everybody. My name is Beth Green, otherwise known as Granny Rocks.
And I'm her sidekick. This is James Maynard, otherwise known as Sweet Baby James.
And this is Building the World We Want. So tonight, if you saw the little flashing, there it is. In stressful times, respond. Don't react. Allow. Don't accept. Now, what the heck does that mean? And why is that important? And how do you do it? It sounds great. So let me try to clue you into what I'm thinking. So I'm not talking about don't feel grief if you've had a major loss. I don't expect you or myself to not grieve if I lose a child or a dog or a husband. But when I'm talking about don't react, what I mean is, that instantaneous feeling that just clutches your gut when you get angry, or you've read something in the news that makes you angry, or you find out that your partner is cheating on you, unless you have an open situation. Todd says, great topic again. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on this. Thank you, Todd. I really appreciate that. I'm kind of looking forward to finding out what I'm thinking about this too. The topic came to me early this morning, but I haven't really had too much time to think about it since. But I'm talking about, that punch in the gut, or that fear, or that anger, or that pain, or something that comes on and just gets you. And you have an instant reaction. Now, why do I say that you shouldn't react, that you should respond? I mean, it sounds crazy. I mean, there are terrible things happening in our world, and you're telling me not to react. Yes, that is what I'm telling you. And I'll tell you why I'm saying that. But I'm not saying that we shouldn't respond. I'm saying we shouldn't react. Or I should put it more properly, is to say react quickly, but immediately move into response. If something happens, like for instance, you find out that your fearless leader is threatening war crimes, it's perfectly normal that you're going to have a moment of anger or disbelief or shock or rage or something, because that's crazy, okay? But when we stay in that reaction, we are just revving ourselves and revving ourselves and revving ourselves. I think about it like, let's say you have a car and you're gunning it. Now, this is a gas engine, right? And you're just going, well, if you keep driving like that, something bad's going to happen to your car, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. Not that I ever did it, and I didn't drive much. But anyway, that's why I'm looking at James, to make sure that I'm not talking nonsense. But you can't keep yourself on high alert all the time. You can't keep yourself enraged all the time. You can't do that to yourself without blowing a gasket, without frying yourself on the inside. You cannot get, because our nervous systems aren't designed for that. I just did give this a little thought, that when we were in the early days of humanity, we had a lot of very stressful situations. Somebody went out and hunted, or they were afraid that somebody was going to hunt them, or some animal was going to hunt them, and you had the fear. But then it was over, and it was like that stress happened and then it stopped. But if you're living in an environment, for example, where there's noise constantly, like in a factory. I worked in a factory. It was so loud that I used to sing at my station and nobody heard me because I was singing all these revolutionary songs. It was kind of fun. They had no idea. But you couldn't hear anything. Now, don't you think that that does something to you to have that noise going on day and night, day and well, not at night. We did eventually go home, unless you had a lot of children, and then you still had noise going day and night. And so something happens not only to your ears, but also to your nervous system. So you can't stay in that high level of reactivity and not think you're going to burn up. And here we've had at least over a year of very, very dramatic events in our nation. And we're enraged or we're shocked or we're scared or we're disappointed. And what happens is we can burn out. Now I'm so you're saying, well, what should we do? Or let's say my husband, somebody calls me and says, your husband, I saw him at the movies with another woman uh, when you were, doing your show the other night, thinking that he was out shopping or whatever. I could get pretty bent out of shape about that. But what happens if I do that? Am I going to be thinking straight or am I just going to be going, rah, rah, rah? So not only is that going to fry my nervous system, but it's also going to fry my brain. My brain isn't going to be thinking very clearly about anything because I'm just going to go over it over and over and over. I thought that. By the way, James does not do that. Just to let you know, James is my husband, and he does not do that.
I'm entirely blameless.
Entirely blameless.
It's one of my mottos.
I picked something that you definitely don't do,
Right.
as far as I know. But nobody has called me to tell me that, that he has. But anyway, so we're not going to think straight. So you say, well, then what do I do? Am I supposed to just be passive? Am I supposed to allow this to happen? Am I supposed to accept that my husband is womanizing or that uh, our great leader is threatening war crimes or is already committing war crimes or is taking food out of the mouths of babies and giving money to billionaires? Should I just say that's okay? No. See, that brings us to the second part of what I'm talking about. I said, don't react, respond. Don't accept, allow. Now, I'm going to get to that in a second. But when I say respond, I mean be informed by your emotions, but think. What can you do? How can you approach this? How can you be the most effective? What kind of response is warranted in this situation? Should you go back to sleep? Should you get on the phone and call all your friends? Should you write a letter to your congressperson? What is the best response that you're capable of at this moment? And this was brought to me in a very powerful way yesterday when everybody was waiting to see if 8 p.m. Eastern time would come around and if we would be bombing Iran in war crimes, civilian populations. And I looked at that and I thought, there's nothing I can do about that today. I want to see what other people are doing. I want to see what the Congress does. I want to see, and I was going to observe. And in fact, 5 o'clock Pacific time came and went. And I even had forgotten that, oh my God, it's 5 o'clock. Are we bombing? I managed to relax and stay clear and focused about what I was going to do at that moment or at some other moment. So, in order to do that, I had to become neutral. And now this is going to sound crazy. Oh, you're going to be neutral about whether or not we're dropping a nuclear weapon, or you're going to be neutral about bombing people, and destroying, a nation of 90 million people. You're neutral about that? Yes, in a strange way, I was neutral, and I'm going to explain how. And I think this might be helpful to you because I'm sure that you're feeling a lot of the same kind of feelings that I am, whether it's on a personal level or on a social level, or you think your child, you just discovered that your child is taking drugs, but there's nothing you can do about it at that moment. Are you supposed to be, ah! So what's the difference between acceptance and allowance? So I wrote a book lots of years ago. Actually, maybe it was it was
2011, about 13 years,
okay, about 13, 14
15
years
years
ago.
ago.
Okay. And it's called Living with Reality. Who we are, what we could be, how we get there. And it is a program. This is a over 600-page book. It's a program of consciousness, how we develop our consciousness, and how we overcome the domination of ego, and how we can become more and more the people we want to be. And it's an actual program. I call them platforms. Platform 1, becoming oneness. Platform 2, becoming differentiated. And platform 3 is becoming co-creative. And this is where allowance comes in. In 1999, I was minding my own business, and all of a sudden I started to channel these words, some thoughts on the path of not knowing, and I started writing them down. And I had no idea what I was going to write. And it was that becoming co-creative with the universe is a subtle dance between intention and allowance. And the word was allowance instead of acceptance. And even though I can't say that I wrote it because I don't know where it came from, by the way, you can read this book free on the internet, along with all the rest of my books and blogs, and listen to my music. We have a website called healingartsnetwork.org. And if you go to the healingartsnetwork.org, you will find this and my other 5 books and blogs and videos and music and albums and all of that kind of stuff. And it's all free. It's my contribution to the world, I hope. And so I thought about intention and allowance a great deal. And I want to explain the vital difference between them. And then I want to talk about it in greater detail. So hopefully to help you. So to me, and this is all how I interpret a word. So don't say, oh yeah, no, that isn't it. That's this. It's, this, I'm explaining to you what I mean. To accept something is to take it in. I accept the fact that you're cheating on me. I accept the fact that you're abusing me. I accept the fact that you're mean to me or that you're putting out negative energy towards me. No, I don't accept that. I don't want to take that in. I don't want to make that okay. I don't want to absorb that energy. When I'm in allowance, it means I know I can't stop it. I haven't accepted it. I don't accept the fact that humanity is mean at times, but I have to allow it because I can't change it. I certainly can't change it in a moment. I can maybe make a contribution to changing it, and that's what I need to do. Catalina said so timely, she puts out a heart and says, I need to hear this. Oh my, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that this is relevant to your life. So it's a huge difference to allow something. It's like I surrender that this is going to happen, but I do not internalize it. I don't say this is okay or that this should happen. Now, I want to give you some descriptions of intention and allowance. I'm sure a lot of you have heard or seen the story Cinderella, where there's the evil stepmother and then there are the evil stepsisters, and the prince finds this tiny little shoe. I used to be that tiny little shoe, but I have an allowance now. I've gone from like a 5.5 or a 5 to an 8, my latest shoes. What am I going to do about it? There's nothing. And there's really nothing to do, no reason to do anything about it. Amy says, I certainly needed to hear this too. Oh, it was a tough day for me today. I'm sorry to hear that. So I'm glad that this is relevant. Anyway, the stepsisters kept trying to squeeze their feet into those shoes, right?
Right.
And they couldn't do it. They could not do it because their feet were too big for those shoes. They have to be an allowance of that their feet are big, or I have to be an allowance of the fact that my feet have spread, even though I've shrunk in height. My feet are bigger than they were when I was, 20 years old. I was 20 years old one time. Anyway, so in the book, I talk a lot about the details of intention and allowance, but I want to give you an example of what I mean. See, we need to recognize that our intention isn't the only intention on the planet. A lot of spiritual teachers have said that if you intend something, then it'll happen. Or if it doesn't happen, it's because you didn't intend it. Well, it could be true that your intention was unclear, that you may have had an inner conflict. If you have an inner conflict, you're not going to go after something. Oh, I want to be a great artist, but I never pick up a pen or whatever, a brush or a pencil. So obviously, if you're having mixed intentions within yourself, you need to look at that. And that's something that you can work on. Say, oh, I want to clarify my intention here and get honest with myself if I see that I'm all over the place. But what happens is not the result of my intention. It is the confluence of all the intentions of everybody and all the forces that are bearing down on that situation. Here's a very simple and graphic example. Let's say I'm driving down the road and I'm minding my own business and I'm in a little car. And all of a sudden, I hit a huge truck. It's coming from the opposite direction. Was it not my intention to drive down this road? It was. But it was the other guy's intention to drive right into me for whatever reason. He was drunk, stoned, lost control, had a fit, passed out, and he just drove right into me. So, what is going to happen at that point of conflict between the little car and the big truck? I get stopped, I get smashed. He may not even notice it. Now, let's say, on the other hand, that I'm driving down the road and somebody hits me, but this time it's another little car. I am not going to have this, the impact on me is not going to be the same because of the lack of power of that. And so think about that as their intention. If I'm driving down the road and all of a sudden out of the side somebody comes and crashes into my car, I'm going to not be stopped or crushed. Probably I'm going to be swerving because that is their intention. I'm not saying that they consciously intended to do that. They only do that when they're trying to kill protesters at demonstrations. So, anyway, you see how what happens to me is not only based on my intention, it's the collective intention. I want to see certain people in our government removed, but that I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm not the only person involved in this. There's a lot of other intentions that are involved. So I was using the car because I think it's very graphic. Don't you think,
Oh,
Jim?
yeah, very graphic.
It shows you how you can be impacted differently by the direction, the power of other people's intentions. I may have an intention to speak up and say my piece in the world, and I might have a parent whose intention is to shut me up. What do you think is going to happen to me if I'm a little child?
Probably it'll shut you up.
It'll probably shut me up. Or it'll create this wound in me that I'm going to need 20 years of therapy to overcome. So it's nonsense that we individually create reality. We co create reality in a subtle dance of intention and allowance with the universe. So, having said all that, let's look back at the whole issue that I raised about reacting and responding. So, in order to stop reacting, I have to get neutral. I have to allow that something might happen that I desperately don't want. And I can do anything and everything in my power to stop it, but it may not happen because the collective intention has to stop it. People in the street, army officers saying this is illegal, we will not follow these guidelines, about bombing people into the Stone Age and so on. And I can sit there and I can cheer and I can do my part, only do my part, but I have to allow. And that's what I did yesterday. Not that I didn't care, but I thought, well, he's probably going to be looking for an off ramp and declare that he won and probably not do it. But he might. And I'm hoping that there are people around him that would stop him, that would say, if you do this, we are going to remove you from office. But I can't control that. Now, if I know somebody in the military who I think has a voice, I could give them a call and say, have you considered doing this or that? There were all these people who came out and spoke about how Army and Navy and Air Force people should not follow illegal orders, that they are not actually permitted to do that. They have a moral obligation and an obligation to their armed force to not do that. So maybe I can, if I have any power, I can do something. If not, I'm going to go play music because I need to make myself as calm as possible so that I can be an allowance of whatever happens. Now, I did not freak out about maybe some nuclear warhead is going to hit us. I didn't think about that. But if it did, I would have to allow it. Just like if the big one, the big earthquake on the West Coast happens, what am I going to do? Am I going to stop it? Am I going to stand there and rail against the heavens and say, don't do that? If I don't want to be involved in that, probably I should move. I should move somewhere else, like the Midwest, where they have tornadoes.
Pick your poison.
Pick your poison. So whether it's life or death for ourselves, or it's the behavior of other people, when we get into that frame of mind where we say, what I need to do is to relax, I need to find things that relax me, that help me to relax. I played music. You might go out on a run. You might, who knows what you might do? Play with your third grade doll, make you feel better. Play with your dog, play with your wife or significant other. Go to work. Focus on something else. Evaluate what you can do, and then allow. So, would anyone else like to comment before we end the show tonight? Yes, James.
Well, I'd like to say that the day doesn't go by when I don't have some sort of hair trigger response to something. And today I was practicing stopping myself from having a reaction, calm down, and just have a response. And that feels good, and I like it. And it's sure a lot better than feeling all stressed out and upset.
Yes. And I'm so glad that you had that experience, James, because sometimes we think that means that they won, the other guy won, right? That somehow we are morally delinquent or weak or, because we haven't fought enough against something. It's not that at all. It's that I need to regulate my energy, even in the face of all the terrible things that happen to each one of us personally, that happen to us societally, that happen to women, to happen and to blacks, so on. And what you were saying is, I think that you can realize that in a state of relaxation, you can respond more intelligently, more effectively. And when you can't stop something or change the course of history, if you have done the one or two or 10 or 100 things that you can in order to change history, then you just need to be an allowance and say, well, and how do I know that I didn't help somebody today or do something that contributed to this? I've written all these books and I think everybody should read them, and they don't. I have to allow that. I mean, some people do, and that's very gratifying. But a lot of people don't. And I think, God, if people only had these simple concepts, I really think they would be better off. But that's me. I can intend. I put it out there. I wrote it. I put it out there. It got published. And you can get it for free off the internet, and the rest is up to you. So, my intention is for you all who are watching this to go to healingartsnetwork.org and sign up for the download of the Living with Reality book. I don't even think you have to sign up. I think you can just click on it and read it. That would be my intention, but I have to be an allowance of whatever happens. And I would like to ask you to like or love this show on Facebook and give it a thumbs up on YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click the notification bell. Follow us on my public page, facebook.com/Granny Rocks On, and share this information. Share this program with somebody who you think might benefit from it. So, and I'd like to remind you that tomorrow night, James and I intend to do our music show, Music for Our Times, and it will be broadcast live streamed at 7 p.m. Pacific time uh, on both Facebook and YouTube. It also plays on my personal page, but then I don't see the comments when we're live. Amy said, it's important to be reminded that my intention for a given outcome is something that I have to be willing to allow not to happen. Exactly, Amy. It's exactly right. And again, if you have some inner conflict about your intention, you can do something about that. But you can't change the intention of the universe. I would like to stop global warming, wouldn't you?
Well, yeah.
And, I try not to cry all the time about drought and all of those things because it just is going to wrap me up in chains. And I won't be able to do what I can. So, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. Thank you for those of you who commented. Thank you, James, for your comment. And come back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time for Building the World We Want. You never know what we're going to talk about. So, bye-bye.